For over a year now, I have been living alone in rural Bulgaria. That means no partner, no kids, friends or family, in a completely new country where villages are far in between and language barriers an everyday occurrence. See, the truth is, I was dreaming about this since my very first experience of a severe burnout. All I wanted was peace and space to be completely alone in order to heal and regain my strength. Living rurally in Bulgaria has given me an opportunity to take life slower and connect with myself and my surroundings a little bit deeper. But village life isn't just a picturesque Pinterest board. It comes with many challenges, especially when you're living all on your own. Who do you ask for help? How do you socialize and make meaningful connections? How do you battle loneliness? But truthfully, you can face all these issues even living in densely populated and urban areas. Plus, the constant noise will eventually make you mad. But so can solitude. The beauty is you don't have to be extreme. You can balance both, being social and being a hermit. Bulgaria is actually the perfect place for both, especially the small and intimate village communities. In this video, I want to take you beyond the solitude and aloneness I often refer to in my videos and talk about the reality of social life when living alone in a secluded Bulgarian village. Welcome to my slow-paced life. Dobrodošli! Good morning and welcome to beautiful Bulgaria. Добро утро, мои красиви хора. I don't know how you say viewers. Have to learn a new Bulgarian word. But yeah, it's another Monday, beautiful, sunny, summer morning. And I was thinking about the topic of this video, and I think besides the financial and living situation, the question I get asked the most is if I'm lonely, because I'm living rurally by myself. And yeah, I thought I would talk a little bit about that, how I socialize, how it is to live in a small rural village in Bulgaria, what are the communities like, and yeah, just try to give you a better sense of how I live here and what you can expect too if you're thinking to move to Bulgaria. There are a few things I need to do today. Some require me to be behind the laptop because I have so many emails to answer. I mean, I'm happy people are sending me emails, but it takes so much time just to answer to everyone. And I have to finish the midweek video. But I also I really want to spend as much time outside as possible. So I need to finish weeding the garden. I'm gonna do that soon before it's too hot. And then I was thinking maybe after lunch we go and find somewhere to get refreshed a little bit, like a lake or a river or something, because it's gonna be 30 degrees today. And when it's too hot outside, I don't really have nice shaded areas in this property. So then I just spend all the time inside because it's really nice and cool in the house. But I don't want to do that. I want to be outside amongst my plants and just, enjoy. Enjoy before the summer gets scorching hot. So let's see how that goes. That's the plan anyway. One of the most common questions I get asked by people who are considering relocating to Bulgaria is regarding social life and communities, especially when living in small, remote villages. I love this topic because the sense of community here in Bulgaria is one of the main reasons I chose to move here. I don't know about you, but I really miss this back home. I feel like in many Western European countries, we've lost this connection with our environment and the people who create it, especially our neighbors. I remember growing up surrounded by relatives and neighbors. It truly felt like the entire village was raising the kids. I think nowadays that's extremely rare. Probably unheard of if you live in a city. I said it before and I'll say it again. I always felt the most lonely and depressed living in urban areas. In Ljubljana, Paris, or London. It was all the same. I was living in complete isolation and disconnect from the surroundings and the people I would see every day but never talk to. I admit, I'm just as much to blame as the stranger in the apartment 1D. There's something about city life that just wires us differently. The pace is faster and the to-do list is endless. But here people actually take time and they don't just have excuses. They are very curious, if not borderline intrusive with their million questions about why you're still single at 40. I have to thank everybody that has been sending me tips and recommendations on what to do with the mulberries because, like I said, there is, I don't know, probably around 10 trees just on the property and around, and they're so abundant that I don't know what to do with them. It just feels like such a waste. So I already picked some black ones and I froze them, and as you saw, I had some for breakfast in my smoothie today. But I also really love the white ones and I think I'm gonna dry them. So I think let's go pick some and dry them. I think Bulgaria very much so still holds to its past values of socialism, something that has long been forgotten in countries like Slovenia after Yugoslavia fell apart. Here, cooperation is almost a must, as it's 10 times harder to survive as a lone wolf. In most places I lived during this past year in Bulgaria, the village community has been very well connected, active, and collaborative. In some more intimate and in others a little bit more big and public, but in all cases very alive. I really want to dry them in the sun, and I don't know, is this gonna work? Or maybe I should put another one here. But yeah, just cover with baking paper and leave in the sun for a few days. We'll see. I think a lot of people see this small, isolated, remote, and many times desolate, abandoned villages, and they're very scared that they would end up socially deprived and lonely. But the truth is, you can have a very active social life anywhere as long as you're willing to put in a little bit of effort. Unless you're the only person living in your village, the chances are your neighbors are always going to be happy to see you. Chat, drink a coffee or a brakia, and gossip about the latest news. Bulgarians are very chatty, open, and honest when it comes to communication. The first thing I do when arriving to a new homestead, I always walk through the village and I introduce myself to anyone I meet. That way I make my presence known, plus I make connections in case of anything. They might need my help or I might need theirs. Very often the village will also have some kind of digital communication methods. Mostly that would be like a Facebook group or a WhatsApp chat. If your village doesn't have, than the neighboring probably does, or the bigger town or city in your area. There you can find everything that you want to know, everything that's happening. You can ask for advice, recommendations, and so on. Okay, I had lunch and now I'm debating what to do because I thought I would go find a lake that is nearby and go swim. But my natural response is to rest. I mean, look at this, guys. They have been here for quite a while now. They're so cute though. Yeah, it's like 28, 29 degrees outside, and most of the path to the lake is through the sun. And I'm just thinking like, oh, do I really want to go? Maybe go a little bit later when it's not so hot. Most villages also organize events, sometimes on bigger scale, like different festivals and concerts. Sometimes it's on smaller, like community dinners, workshops, and so on. It really does depend on each individual, how involved you want to be and how much you want to assimilate. Personally, I've been very involved and social in some, and in others a little bit less, and I just enjoy the solitude. It all depends on my energy and what kind of neighbors I have. For example, in my current house sit, there aren't many people living in this village, so on most days I actually don't meet anyone. But if I do, I always try to have a chat, but surprisingly it never led anywhere, so I haven't really been socializing and I haven't really met and connected with that many neighbors here. But the neighboring village has a bigger population and a much more active social scene. So if I felt the need to be social, there's no shortage of opportunities to do so. I also live between two big cities, Plovdiv and Stara Zagora, where there's even more things to do. But honestly, I rather have less people around me and have stronger connections with a few than to be feeling lonely in a crowded city. I made some of the most genuine connections and relationships right here in the remote parts of Bulgaria, where my only immediate neighbors were 86-year-old Baba and her 70-year-old son with his flock of sheep. When it comes to safety and trust, I feel very at ease living here in the countryside. People here are very welcoming, kind, and trustworthy. When I first arrived, I heard a lot of stories and warnings about small town and village crime, mostly burglaries, but I haven't encountered a single incident or even heard of anything like that happening in my own proximity. It is possible, yes, like anywhere in the world, but very unlikely, especially when the village community is well connected. People here take care of each other and each other's property. I met one of my neighbors for the first time just the other day, and she asked me if I'm not scared to be here alone. I laughed because this is the safest I have felt anywhere in the world except my parents' house. Honestly, I'm sleeping so well here. It's incredibly quiet and the village is so hidden, so out of the way that there really isn't much chance of anything happening. Plus, I live with two adorable cats, so they protect me and keep me company. I'm not saying all villages are like this, but most of them are. You do see many houses having security systems and bars on the windows, and dogs, but in my experience, that's mostly when the houses are left empty for prolonged periods of time, which many are. On my street alone, there are about 10 houses and none of them is inhabited permanently. So yes, people do take precautions because it's better to be safe than sorry. But that's also why so many people here are looking for house sitters because they don't want to leave their houses empty, which is basically how I found my free housing here. I have to share what happened today because it's a perfect example of how important community is and how important your neighbors are when you are living alone in a secluded village. So I got my grass trimmer repaired for the third time, I don't even know. And today I was wanting to start it and to trim the grass, and I couldn't. Like, it just won't start. I've done everything that I needed to do, and I felt like it came down to literally like my strength or the lack of, even though like I did my best. And at some point I just had to like give up and was like, okay, I need to find someone. I need to find a man in this village to help me out. And there aren't many people living in this village where I am, especially not like during the week. They come on the weekends, they take care of their properties, and then they return to the city. So I walked around a little bit, and quickly I saw that there's no cars, there's no one. I could hear someone on the other side of the village, but come on, like, I'm not gonna drag someone through the whole village to come and help me with the trimmer. And then a couple of moments later, when I already like gave up and was like, whatever, I'm just gonna try later again, I hear a car, and the neighbors of this property here behind, which I've never seen before, and they only come like maybe 2 times per year. They come around, so I go there, I introduce myself, we chat a little bit, and of course then I start with my agenda, and I was like, hey, I have this problem, if you can just like, when you have the time, when you have 5 minutes, can you just come and help me with starting my grass trimmer? So yeah, after 15 minutes he came, and actually he couldn't start it either, so it wasn't just me. Eventually, after like 15 minutes of like real manpower, it started, and then it died in 10 minutes, but that's a story for another day. But you know, like, it's so important, like when you're alone in a small village, and like sometimes you just need a hand with something, and if there's no one, it can be really an issue. Like, you literally then have to like get a service, like call someone, pay someone to come and repair something for you or help you with something, which is, you know, it can be a hassle. But yeah, it all happened like in the perfect moment. I've never seen them before. They've never been here since I've been here. So yeah, it's so important to have at least some how would you say, like acquaintances or like some relationships with the people that are living here around you. And the good thing is, when you ask people for help in Bulgaria, pretty much anytime I did this anywhere, people like would normally just drop whatever they're doing and they would go and help you, and sometimes they even like go really out of their way to assist you on whatever you need, which is really great. And especially for someone who is not Bulgarian, and I have still like language barriers, and I'm not fluid in Bulgarian, so fluid did I say fluid? Fluid I'm not fluent. But yeah, everyone is so nice about it. Yeah, it just makes you feel very welcomed and taken care of, which is something that I didn't have anywhere else. And I lived in so many different countries already. Like I said, I lived in France, I lived in Spain, I lived in UK, I lived in Slovenia, in like probably like 50 different places just in Slovenia. And it's very rare that you would have people like this around, where they would just be like, yeah, no problem, let's do it. I'm gonna help you out, whatever it takes. So yeah. In my ideal village life scenario, I would love to have a small and trusting community of local people, hopefully a mix of Bulgarians and perhaps a few expats. My goal has always been to integrate into the culture and local life fully. That's why I chose a country where that's possible relatively easily for me. First, because the locals are hospitable and welcoming towards the foreigners, and second, because I'm culturally from a similar background. Of course, the biggest obstacle is language. Despite being from a Slavic-speaking country, I can only understand about 50%. So there are still language barriers, mishaps, and misinterpretations. But Bulgarians are very forgiving when it comes to that. When they see I'm trying to make an effort, they too return the same kind of attitude. So I can get by. And not just that, I have actually established quite a few relationships solely by communicating in Bulgarian, which, if you don't understand, can prevent you from interacting and building meaningful relationships with your village neighbors, who in probably like 95% won't speak any other language. In that case, you have to rely on expat groups, which are also plenty and very active. But I do encourage you, learn at least some basic Bulgarian so that you know when your neighbor is inviting you for a shot of rakia or when they just want to talk about the weather. Either way, a smile means the same thing in all the languages. I almost forgot. Let's check on the mulberries. Okay, this looks good. Obviously it's gonna take a few days, but slowly. Oh, the sunshine is so nice now when it's not hot. Oh. For anyone who is still wondering, no, I don't ever feel lonely here. Just because I choose to spend time in solitude doesn't mean Bulgaria is lacking in social opportunities or community bonds. I've probably made more friends here in a year than in all other cases where I lived abroad combined. The beauty of this country is that it attracts all kinds of spirits, from off-grid and eco-enthusiasts to pensioners looking to spend their days in peace and quiet. It's diverse, international, and only growing. I hope this video gave you some insight into social life here in the countryside. If you do have any more questions, just drop them in the comments below. Thank you so much for being here, and I hope to see you next time.